Nancy Clark is a spiritual life coach, Akashic Records Reader, and intuitive online business manager who helps seekers and entrepreneurs reconnect with their truth, release emotional blocks, and move into greater alignment with their highest potential. With a unique blend of spiritual wisdom, intuitive insight, and grounded strategy, Anne supports her clients in overcoming self-doubt, self-sabotage, and the fear that keeps them playing small. Through her work with the Akashic Records, Anne offers deep insight into the soul's journey, illuminating past influences, present challenges, and future possibilities. Her approach is both practical and deeply spiritual, creating a safe, supportive space for transformation, healing, and self-discovery. She empowers clients who feel stuck to uncover their soul's blueprint, activate their inner wisdom, and live authentically aligned and inspired. Now, as an intuitive OBM, Anne also brings this same blend of clarity and intuition to her business clients, helping entrepreneurs align their operations and strategy with both their goals and personal values. Whether this is through one-to-one sessions or group coaching, Anne's work is designed to leave clients feeling seen, supported, and equipped with the tools to create meaningful, lastful change.
Hello and welcome to The True North Show. I'm your host, Megan North. I am a purpose finder, mental health professional, and guide for those ready to return to who they truly are. Here, we explore what it means to live a life led by purpose, alignment, and deeper inner truth. Through real conversations, powerful reflections, and soul-led strategies, we'll uncover the stories, tools, and insights that help you navigate life's crossroads and find your own true north. So whether you're in the middle of a transformation, seeking clarity, or just curious about what's next, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Your path starts now.
So, Anne, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be back.
So, is business intuition woo-woo magic or practical wisdom that drives real success? Anne and I will explore how the Akashic Record insights and gut instincts can skyrocket your strategy and profits. Now, I can attest to this because Anne is actually my online business manager as well, and we definitely don't have normal conversations when we meet.
Not at all.
So we're diving into intuition in business, so woo or wisdom. So when you think about intuition in small business, what does it actually look like day to day? And why do you think so many entrepreneurs hesitate to trust it?
You know, it's quite funny. When I started business, I always called it my head and my heart. So, that logical brain, coming from a corporate background, everything was very systems, and everything was from, I guess, a brain point of view, You would learn about, say, marketing, you would learn about sales, all the pragmatic things that we have to do in our businesses. But over the journey, I've been in business 15 years this year, and I've worked with a lot of people that they were doing things because people were telling them this was the box you had to tick. And when I would have conversations with them, and I'm like, well, if you had to show up in your business, where would you show up in it, and what do you love doing it? And when they talked talked from their heart and about what they were doing and where they really shined and where they resonated with, it changed the whole dynamics of how they turned up. And I remember a conversation with somebody I was working with, and at the time they had another person involved in our process, and they were using the old systems of tick, you got to do this, you got to be on social media, you got to be here, you got to be everywhere, and nothing was working. And then I asked them, I just, off the records, just between you and I, where do you love being in your business? She goes, I love talking. I love being on stage. I love connecting with an audience face to face. I said, well, sack me, get rid of her, and go do that. And, we've actually been working together for 12 years because she went off and took a break. And then came back and focused where she really wanted to be. And she shines. Now she's gone on to write her own book. She's got movie deal coming from it. She's getting speaking gigs, and she's thriving in a space that really resonates for her. So when we follow the processes we're told we have to do, what has been done, our world has changed. People don't turn up in that way anymore. And our instincts, our energy, our intuition has become a really big part. And there's been a real big dynamic change, especially for those who've come from, say, corporate backgrounds and stepped into the entrepreneur journey. They're more and more showing up in that energy space and really embrace it. And when I talk about energy space, it's not just, spiritual, you see ghosts or whatever it is. I'm talking about, the neuroscience, the, theta healers, anything, quantum healing, all of them fall under that same umbrella. And more people are incorporating them. And I actually work with quite a few. My business travels in cycles, and at the moment I have a lot of males coming in to work with me, and it's quite funny because they're all very corporate strategic, but they're all bringing in what we would call the woo into their practices, because they've come to realize the science is backing the energy space, what we learn and what we do in every day. So when we embrace the things that make us shine, that's where our energy is uplifted and raises to a level that, it didn't raise before, that we're starting to get more attraction and more flow and feel really honored in our space.
Yeah. And I feel like too that, obviously for you and I, it's quite obvious when we see people on social media or something like that where they are, when we know that they're really spiritual or intuitive, but they're actually just doing what they're told to do. You can really see that disconnect. And I find that people want more and more of, like, not raw authentic in the sense of, not lay everything
dirty laundry, I call it.
Yeah, dirty laundry. Yes, that's a good one. But more just, this is, like, I want to see you on social media and go, oh, there's Anne. Not, oh, what is she saying? What is she wearing, or how is she turning up?
Yeah. And the hardest bit is when it comes to social media, you'll have the people that will say, you got to be on every platform. You got to be here. You got to show up everywhere. But for those in the energy space, that's exhausting.
Yeah.
It is such an energy zapper. I feel very judged on Instagram.
Yeah.
It has a different energy for me, and it doesn't resonate with me in a way. I still show up on there, but I never show up in the full form of me because it doesn't make me feel aligned, and it doesn't resonate for me. However, it is part of my business, and I show up for all my clients in their space for them, but I only show up in a way that feels aligned, where we're guided to be there in the right way. A lot of people in the energy space, you'll find, go to YouTube more. And I don't think you should show up on every platform just because. I worked with a lady that was on every platform, like every day, and still is actually, but nothing. The numbers weren't changing. She wasn't making sales. She's still probably not making sales. And it was purely because it wasn't authentic. It was a checklist. And people can tell the difference. So, that old scenario we hear of the salesman. Sorry to all the salespeople listening, but the old cliche of you could tell a real salesman to the dodgy salesman. It's kind of that mentality, when you're turning up inauthentic. When I put a post up that comes from my heart, where I've written it, that is genuine, I get more likes and engagement. When I put a post up because I haven't put a post up for 2 weeks, I better put something up, it doesn't get the engagement because the energy is attached to it and it's not the right energy.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is. And like we ourselves, when we look on social media, what stops you? And, like I said before, dirty laundry, I don't want to know what you're putting out there. If it's not relevant to your audience, then don't share it because it's not relevant. It's not going to connect with them.
Yeah.
But if you're sharing something, I put a post up today actually, which I haven't done for ages, but it was talking about why the spiritual side of me is in in my business and how it helps my clients, because it's information that, one, it resonated with me. I was sharing a piece of me, but two, it was educating people about how I work and why I do what I do. And people buy from us for our why, not what we're selling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was interesting that you were talking before about, people working in corporate. And so I had a very long career in corporate, very senior HR roles. And I remember, must have been about 8 or 9 years ago when I started a small business doing angel card readings and healings. And I remember having that on the side, and no one at work knew that I had that. I mean, I had to disclose it, because you always have to disclose in corporate if you've got another income. But I remember sort of then starting, once I started to really work and have paying clients doing this on the weekend, I started to really tune into my intuition when I was at work. And I started to tune in to think, I know this person at work really well, and I actually have a feeling that I could mention something to them. And the funny thing is that after I started talking about it, all my clients then were from corporate.
Yeah.
Because,
and that's it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You're really worried about talking about the woo in corporate. I don't think it's as bad anymore, but I'm not in corporate anymore either.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of hesitancy around it, because, as much as we like to think today's world has changed, that old school mentality still carries forward, because we bring it forward from what we were taught. And I was the same. I worked as a corporate PA office manager for 20 odd years, working with the MDs and CFOs most of my career, and working with the board of directors. And being under that umbrella, like, I was educated that my opinion should never be shared, because people would perceive what I was saying was the words of the MD. So I learned to not talk, to not share. So for me, stepping forward when all of the changes came for me in my career, even when I started my business, I started my business after my first child, and found out I was pregnant and decided to resign from my corporate job because I didn't think it was fair to come and go. I then have gone on to have 3 kids, but my business journey has changed. At the start, I was, the kids were in the background, shut up, be quiet, don't say a word, oh my God, I'm going to kill you later, to one day attending an event where a mother got up and said, my business started because of my children, and I won't be ashamed of that, and I won't hide them. And that was the light bulb moment that I suddenly went, oh, actually, you know what? My kids are part of who I am. And if you can't work with me because of them, then you can't work with me, because you don't. My kids to this day, they'll go, hey, how's Megan going? We haven't heard from you. Haven't spoken. They always check in, because you're part of the journey and you're part of me. So, they recognize that. And this same lady said in her speech, if anyone's going to be an inspiration to their children, why can't it be me? And I'm like, I love that. So I used to get embarrassed when my kids get in the car with the laptop and go, I'm just getting on a Zoom call. And I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, actually, you know what? Get on your Zoom call.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that old school mentality that sadly it's still there.
Yeah.
I know COVID showed the world what it was like for people like me who were working in the virtual space to step into it.
Yeah.
And it was quite funny to see that at the end of COVID, when people were going back to normal, how many organizations went back to that old mentality that an employee couldn't work from home.
Yeah.
And it's sad, because they were still doing that same stuff for you before under lockdown.
Bizarre, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like, the government told us that, even worldwide, we were told we couldn't go into the office. So it's okay for you to work from home. But when that's lifted, really, we don't trust you to continue on with that. So you've got to come back into the office.
Yeah, and I lived in Melbourne, so we were literally locked up for 2 years. At that time. I've moved. But, my husband was a person who was deemed as needing to go into the office, and then suddenly it was okay for him to work. But the minute it was finished, they were like, oh, no. And he told them we were moving states. So it wasn't a case of you could pop in. He ended up being forced to resign because they went, no. Well, okay, we'll accommodate you. You have to fly to us every week and live in Melbourne for Monday to Friday to come in here and do the work. And I'm like, what?
Just,
You know what? It was all right for the 3-4 months we've been living here before they even deemed this as not acceptable.
yeah.
So it was quite funny to see that whole mentality still there. It doesn't change. And
Yeah.
what I love seeing is the fact that there are so many corporates all stepping forward going, you know what, I embrace it. And the energy isn't a negative thing. We're not all sitting there flying around on brooms or anything weird that people seem to think that woo-woo does. It's about honouring our space. It's about trusting our intuition. It's about listening to that gut instincts. And we all have a team of lights around us, our guides that watch over us. And they'll give us signals. They're not sitting there, hey, excuse me, Megan, got to tell you a message today. Yeah. It's, that's, when you go to do something and for some reason it just won't work, you can't get it to do whether it's on your computer or whatever it is, that's them going, this isn't the right step for you. We need to change the path. You need to look at a different way to get to that end goal, because I've often referenced that our journey in life is like a street map. We can get to the house destination we're traveling to, but the path, just like a road map, there are crossroads, there are T intersections. We have free will to choose which way we will get to that end destination. And honouring ourselves that way is the best thing we can do, especially as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And turning up, people want to embrace it. We're no longer feeling ashamed that, can't talk about that, can't talk about the woo that's happening in our world. It's who we are.
Yeah.
We are all energy in one way or another, and science is backing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's an interesting point that you make, because I also think too is that, when I come across people who aren't spiritual and don't really believe in it, then I change the way that I talk to them, in the sense of, I don't go, well, I'm never going to talk to you about again. I just have discernment on how I speak to them.
Yep.
Like I've got a niece who doesn't believe in angel cards and those sort of things. And so when I'm around her, I just don't talk about them, because I'm not here to convince her, and I don't want to be throwing it down her throat, because that's not the relationship I have with her, and that's not the relationship I have with my spiritual side anyway.
Yeah.
But I just respect that she doesn't believe in it, so I just don't talk about it. And I think that that's where we just have that discernment of, okay, well, someone doesn't believe in it, that's fine. I won't talk woo to you. I'll be a little bit more strategic, or I'll just talk normally, in the sense of, like I'm back in corporate in a sense.
Yeah. And I've got clients who are they're not in that space at all. And that's fine. Same as you. I just don't talk about it. Like, one of them used to make jokes at me about, your crystal ball and, I need to fill up this space. I'm like, oh, no worries. I'll do a seance thing. I'll set up the circle and do all it. And they're like, really? No. Like, no, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have any of that stuff. That's not how I work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy to play the game along. I've got a sense of humour. I'm an Irish girl. Of course I've got a sense of humour. So, there's the banter. But if it makes them a little bit open to it, they would then, as much as they bagged it, they're also asking me to, hey, can you do this? So there were little things that they were learning along the way that just, I wasn't sitting there referencing it as something woo or in the energy space. It was just, you should shift your mindset and think about doing it this way. And then, just left it at that. And then I noticed that they would slowly do it without even realizing they were doing it, because they actually could see a benefit in it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the other thing too, right, is that there's nothing worse than if you don't really believe in something, but then someone's trying to shove it down or convince you to convert you. And it's just awful. So that's always in my mind of,
exactly.
I'm not going to banter with you in the sense of, you've got to believe in this, and what, I can't believe you don't believe in it. It's their journey and it's their choice.
My family don't. The larger of my family don't. And, my mum, when it first all came up and I stepped forward to say that I could, I think my mum thought I was going to be haunted by ghosts. So she may have sent me some holy water. But, even my sister wasn't a believer, yes, would ask about that area, but wouldn't necessarily, I remember growing up, we went off to get tarot cards read or, psychics to find out what they've got to say. And as much as we got excited about that moment, it wasn't anything that she ever, I guess, held on to. But, they'll ring me now and say, can you tap in and find out? I 2 years ago lost my dad, and it was quite funny because my sister called me and said, oh, Mum's asked if you can, tap in to find out what's going on with Dad. And he was he had stage 4 cancer, but he just went into hospital to get medication adjusted. So it was huge for me because I'm like fighting with my brain and my heart going, what? Logic? You're telling me that this is it, it's his time, he's going, and my brain's going, no, he's just getting medication adjustments. The logic didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And my sister, relaying that information, I couldn't relay it to her because I knew that she didn't have that same level of belief in me.
Yeah.
That, I guess I needed to know that she had. And so I just went, pray for the best, expect the worst is what came out my mouth. And then my mum rang me later and she's like, so what didn't you tell her? So they're telling it's time. It is time. So a couple of days later, they called me and said, he's deteriorated. You need to come home. And on the flight home, I had 2 old ladies chatting away, so I didn't really want to listen to their conversation. So I drifted away, and then I heard Tom and Isabel said it's time for Jimmy to come home, and Jimmy's my dad. And I was like, who's Tom and Isabel? And I realised it was my grandparents. And so when I got to the hospital, my mum met me outside, and I said, oh, Tom and Isabel said it was time for Jimmy to come home. And they're like, she's like, Tom and Isabel? I said, yeah. She's like, oh, my gosh. So we were in the hospital room. Probably about 4 hours later, my dad was out. I didn't get to have any conversations with him as such, and he just popped up in the bed and said, Tom and Isabel said it's time for me to come home, but I need to make sure Anne's all right. And my mum and I just looked at each other. I was like,
Wow.
Told you they were, and it was really strong. Whereas, sometimes the messages aren't very loud.
Yeah.
They can be quite quiet in what we hear.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like I said earlier on, when you go to do something and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, just give up. They're telling you it's not working for a reason.
Yes.
Step back and reevaluate, or it's not the right time for it to be happening.
Yeah.
It's a bit like anything in our business journey or in life. When we want something and we're craving to get it, if it doesn't happen, it's not because we're being punished. It's because it wasn't either the right one, or it wasn't the right time or the path. And we have to trust that sometimes we don't know why.
Yeah.
And as frustrating as it is, I know when my husband asked me to tap into the records, I'm like, it's not for you to debate me. I said, the guys I can only tell you what they tell me. It's so funny because he's the person that will question the doctor, like, what's this mean? What's this mean? What's this mean? I'm sure the doctor sees him coming going, uh-oh. But he'll question everything. So when I tap in, he questions me. I'm like, dude, that's not how this works. I can only answer so much.
Yeah.
You have to trust them. When you trust them, it will deliver.
And I think that that's the thing too, isn't it, from that trust point of view of the outcome, in the sense of, because us as when we're spiritual, because we're spiritual beings having a human experience, right? Yeah. And so in our human brain, we think, well, I'm manifesting this, or this is how I want this to work, and this is the outcome. But actually, when it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It usually means that something better is coming along, but it's not going to be exactly how you think it is.
Yeah, and, it's really important for anybody and everybody to know that in life, there's different practices for how people do things, and there's no right or wrong way. You do what resonates for you as an individual person. I have things that I like to do in my business as my practices for, how I tap in with a client, or when messages come through, or even just how I turn up for myself every day doing anything I do. It's about choosing the things. We're shown all of these things to choose the things that resonate most with us.
Yeah.
In my journey with working with you, I learned more and more. I always used angel cards. I never understood why I did, but it wasn't until doing some of your courses that I really came to see the messages I was never seeing before.
Yeah. And,
I've just coming to the end of the term with you learning about tarot cards, and I'm like, for years I've had tarot cards and I've never got it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, light bulb moments. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's that same thing. We'll be presented different things in our businesses, in life, that are there to help us journey through. And, the repeat patterns where you keep doing the same thing that you're like, what? Why me? Look at it and say, what am I not seeing? What are the lessons I'm supposed to learn from it? Because our team of lights will keep repeating it until we learn what we need to take from it. So you might experience the same kind of scenario, and then you look at it a little bit differently, and then you start to identify it. I know for me, I am notorious for repeat pattern offender for one particular thing. And it only recently came up, and it was the first time where I caught myself that I went, aha, I see it. And I changed the path which I would normally take. And I didn't walk out of the experience hurt going, why me? Like, why?
Yeah.
Because I was aware of it this time.
Yeah. It's that spiritual awareness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as small business owners, so we know we wear many hats. I'm lucky that I can outsource a lot of stuff to you. Thank you very much. But how have you learned to balance your gut instincts with then facts, right? Facts and data. And then how do you use that balance then when you're making calls about like money or marketing or partnerships? Like, where's that balance coming from? What does it look like?
So for me, I think, we look at our money. We have to set intentions for what we want to see, because if we don't tell the universe we would like to see, like I have this cheeky photo on my phone. I actually put my dog in the background, but it says, I am lucky that everything always works out for me. It is my mantra. Like I have it because there might be days where I go, oh gosh, I need some cash flow to shift because I need this to be done. And like no sooner do I say I'm so lucky that things work out for me, a door suddenly swings open and the money presents itself. We have ways of asking and seeing things that help us, take the right paths. We look at, when we're logically looking at the books, we see what we want. We have, we're brought up, you got the budget. You have to have your business budget. You need to know what you're working towards. Yes, you do. How are you going to show up in that space? It's not, I need to sell 20 courses. It's how can I connect with my audience to see that this is worth the value in what I'm doing? If you're trying to sell from a place of desperation, people can see it and they can feel it. But if you say, I trust you to have me, to support me and help me achieve, this is what I want. Please don't be fooled to see that I'm going to sit there and go, hey, give me all of this money. I'm going to, it's what strategic plan, how do I need to show up and where am I going to do it? It will guide you there. You need to ask it to help you along the way, them, to help you along the way. But so one of the best things I can always encourage people to learn about is that when you're in that mundane state, say you're washing the dishes or you're off in La La Land, the things that are popping in your head, that's your team of lights going, hey, psst, Megan, you're thinking about this and you're thinking about for a reason. You're not having random thoughts. And if you feel that it is, it's because you're old school thinking of, that logical head, hey, we've just got to do A, B, C, all right, I've got a business, need to have a marketing, need a budget plan, need this. Why am I not making any sales? I've ticked all the boxes. Yeah, but you ticked all the boxes, but there's no love, there's no passion. You're not turning up because you want to be there. You just ticked all the boxes because A, B, and C, those people you hired told you had to do it. But when you turn up and it's in a place where you just, that passion, where you turn up and you're excited and, well, people buy because they just want whatever you've got. I want a bit of that, that magic, it's there. You emanate it. And when you emanate in the right way, like my mum always, every time a client, she always reminds me of this, every time a client shuts a door, a bigger and better door has always opened. I've never worried when a client's gone, oh, I'm calling it quits, because something, even, a couple of months ago, one of my biggest paying clients, changed direction. And I was like, uh-oh. I'm like, I trust you. And I got even bigger client.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
A bigger and better opportunity.
Yeah.
We have to really trust that when we're doing these things from an energy space, that we're honoring ourselves. But your budgets, they all go hand in hand. It's not that we live one way and we don't look at the other, because we need to know that we're on the path. But if the path isn't showing up in our budgets, that we're making the money, then it's a case of looking at, well, why is it not showing up? It's not to do with the sales, because that's the strategic. And you don't want to be pushy. Energy people are not that way inclined.
Yeah, we need to be better sometimes.
Yeah, but how are we turning up in a way? Is it the way we're saying it?
Yeah.
And in business, it's always trial and error.
Yep.
And I've heard this so many times where people are like, oh, yeah, but, Barbara up the road is making $4,000 every time she launches a course. Barbara is telling you that she's making $4,000. She's not telling you all the things that are going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That it might have taken her 10 years to get that point. Don't listen to everybody else.
Yeah.
Focus on you and how you want to show up, because the people we attract in business are a reflection of who we are as people as well.
Yep.
And who we work with.
Yeah. And the other thing, just when you were saying that, is, from a balance, from my point of view, I often look at things two ways. Like, is this a nice to have, or is this really going to move me forward in my business? So that's it. There's my balance of, I really, really would love to do this, but actually at the moment it's not a priority for me. Yep. So I make that decision. But the other thing is that, and you're a perfect example, like all the stuff that you do for me, from a financial point of view, two ways. Financially, it makes more sense for you to be spending the time doing all of that than me. But also, I don't get lit up with joy doing the stuff that you do for me. So I know how to do it, as you know, because I think it's important.
Absolutely.
Before you outsource, you should understand how long it's going to take. But I don't get the joy in that. So for me, I don't want that to come across in all the stuff that I do and what we create together.
Yep.
So it just makes sense. So for me, there's that balance as well, right? It is intuition, but it is also there is some logic in it.
Yeah, it is. And, when it comes to like our working relationship, there is that trust element. There's also the importance that I understand the space you're in and that I know how you work and what you do. And also that you trust me, because if you can't trust me to turn up in a way for you, then it's not going to work. Yeah. And, I had a client once, I watched them change from a person who was very intuitive to a person who became very ego, because they were just suddenly money hungry and very aggressively. And they had a call with me once and they said, well, what's my return on investment with you? And I was just like, really? I'm just dumbfounded. Well, I'm not making any money, but that's not my job. My job's not to make your money. I was writing your newsletters. I rebuilt your website, built up your SEO, did your social media. Like, I did everything. All you had to do was get out there and make your sales. I gave you the space and the time to do that. But if you didn't do it because you didn't know what you were doing, I can't do everything for you. If I could do that, I'd be doing that for myself.
Yes.
The same with you. Like, we go through what needs to be done. There's sometimes your teams will come in and say, hey, we've got this great idea. We know this will resonate with Megan. And I'll go, hey, Megan, this has come up. What do you think about this? Yeah. And then we map out how we're going to produce it, make it a viable product, because sometimes some things will come through. And I guess a little bit of the logic to the intuition is the logic will say, well, what's the cost? There's no point creating a big program if you haven't got the audience that want to buy it. So it might be a case of let's bail the smaller things to build the funnel and the income to fund the bigger project.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where the logic comes in with the complementing the intuitive.
Yeah. It's definitely a balance there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think that's the problem. Like I was saying, the person that I worked with that was posting everywhere. But there's no point. One, social media is so not about posting on every channel the same piece of information.
Yeah.
Because every channel works differently.
Yeah.
And that's a misconception that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
You know, how you show up. And people do, like, I laugh at this one because people always go, Facebook. It's Instagram. Well, if you think about it, the demographic for Instagram is a younger generation. An older generation is sitting on Facebook. However, if you go and have a look at your stats, you'll probably find that your conversions are happening more on Facebook than they have. So that's where your statistics come in. That's where you need to look at the data.
Yeah.
Because if you're showing up in all these spaces and I know for me, I do not make sales off Instagram. People might find me, people might communicate with me, but that's not where people connect with me.
Yeah.
LinkedIn might be a better source for me. And I do a lot of things with clients around LinkedIn. And it works because that's where the people are connecting with them.
Yeah.
So it's knowing who your audience are, but where they show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Often I find people start businesses, it's quite funny. They all start and then they all join the groups where all the same people doing the same thing as them are. And I'm like, why would you hang out with your competitors? Go hang out where your ideal client is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that it's a good point because I think too, like intuitively, like from a business perspective, you know, you and I do different things on LinkedIn to what we do on other platforms.
Yeah.
Because there's different things that we want to talk about or do, or that I, but you know, like but intuitively I tune into that. If I'm going to do this post or, you know, if we're going to talk about this or create this, where would it sit well? Yeah. And intuitively I sit into that but you and I have also done the work on the data. So what converts on LinkedIn, what does on Insta or Facebook
and like your team will give me downloads about how we need to presenting it. Or if something's not working, they'll come through and say, hey, you need to change the language or this isn't working for this reason. And that's when we go off and go, right, well, let's get the table out, the pens and the papers and look at what's working, where the data is showing us. So, you know, when it comes to business, yes, we work in the energy space, but we still use the tools the right way that works for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Not follow what everybody else's tick box system is because it doesn't work. Right? Yeah.
And that's where your intuition kicks in again, right? Like you and I will talk about it and think, no, that's not right, or I'm not sure that would work. And, you know, I tune into my guides, you tune into yours. That's why I was saying before that our conversations are quite interesting when we meet on a weekly basis. Because
and I do love, because sometimes you go to me, hey, I was tapping in and my guides are saying this, and I'm like, oh, God, I feel like you just read my thoughts.
Or my mum, who was
your mum is your mum is gorgeous. I wish I had met her in real life, but she is just divine, and she does like to come boss me around a little bit. And she's like, no, you need to do this now because Megan needs to know about this. Certainly, I'm on it. Me mapping out my day, right, I'll catch up on this, I'll do this, and then she pops and hello. I'm not going. I'm staying until you do that. I need this now. Sometimes even in my own business, like I'll be, you know, I've got 20 jobs I need to get done. And suddenly they're like, no, you need to go and focus. And yeah, but I got that. No, over here. And I'm like, yeah, but okay, then I'm just going over this way. I have to honor it and trust it. Like, you know, as much as I mentally sit there going, no, my brain's saying, no, I've got to tick off these things or I'll be behind. No, I need to show up here for this reason. And it's rewarding because suddenly I get a burst of energy and then I plow through that even faster because I'm like, oh yeah, I got this done. And it's a bit like when they talk about in business, you always allocate a time or a day in the week to work on your business so that you have the scope to grow.
Yeah.
If you don't allow for it, you don't move because you're too busy wearing every hat, doing everything. And people like me, we take that away so that you have that space to grow and amplify yourself.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you've done for me, is that I can work in my business because there's stuff that you're doing for me that I don't, and stuff that it would take me so much longer to do than what it does for you as well.
Yeah.
You know? So there's a benefit to that as well.
You know, it's always hard. You know, I know that when people come to that point and they go, I want to have somebody help me do it, and, you know, learning to trust and let go, but also, you know, it's that financial investment. But what you have to remember is if you're not having to worry about this bit, you allow yourself the freedom to create and grow the other things. Often I have one client I've worked with her for probably 13 odd years, and she'll just send me a voicemail and go, hey, I was thinking of this, make it work. And I go off, map it all out, put it all together, send it, and then come back with the final pieces and go, right, this is what I've got. Change this, add this, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Because she trusts me and she knows I know her and I know her brand and how I turn up for her. So the same thing happens with you. We talk about bits and pieces and you go, well, I was thinking about this. I'm like, oh, I love it. And then all of a sudden, your team come flooding in my brain and all these things coming through. So I'm like, you need to stop for a second because you're talking too fast and I need to write it all down. So, there'll be times where it will come up, and I do laugh because sometimes it comes up when I'm not at my desk to write anything down. I'm like, you have to remind me later because I'm not going to remember. So, and they do. They always, hey, don't forget. Oh, excellent. Thank you. I'll write that down now.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm laughing at this because I've heard this before, but, sometimes intuition, it gets mistaken for emotion, particularly in women. You're very emotional.
Oh, yes.
So how can small business owners tell the difference between true intuition, like you're really getting that gut feeling, or fear, or stress, or wishful thinking? Like how would you describe the difference of that true intuition to, oh my God, am I just imagining this, or is it wishful thinking, or am I reacting out of fear?
I think sometimes what will happen is that it will keep presenting itself if it's for us to take action on. Mm-hmm. And often I will, write down what's coming through. Like as it's coming through, just take a moment to take stock of it. Then I will ask yes, no questions because I know that that's my really strongest clarity, that they'll say things and they'll go, do you mean this? No. Okay. Do you mean this? Yes. Okay. And then I get the validation for myself through my methods. But when it comes to people that get flooded with, is this a good idea? I don't know. Why should I show up? How am I? And all of those things are coming through. My best strategy is always to brain dump it. Write everything that comes through. Even if it's a word, a color, whatever it is, just write it all down on a piece of paper, brain dump it. Put it away for a couple of days and go back. The first thing that throws itself up at you, the first thing that stands out, that's where you need to start.
Yeah.
Because they're making you see that for a reason.
Yeah.
It's popping out because there's more to what you're seeing. I mean, like it's a bit cliche, but years ago I used to, before I really stepped into the spiritual side, I used to always suddenly think of people and I'm like, why would I be thinking of that person? Like, I don't even hang around them. I don't know them. And they were pregnant. And that was my sign. I knew who was pregnant before they announced it. Like my husband and I, the first time it happened, I just said to my husband, okay, if she doesn't have a glass of champagne, she's pregnant. Anyway, we get there and she's like, oh, should we have some champagne? I'm like, and my husband's like, oh, where's yours? Oh, I don't feel like any. Went, oh my God, I just said in the car you were pregnant. She's only just found out today. I was like, oh, there you go. And so it became a novelty joke amongst all my girlfriends because they were all falling pregnant. They're like, we know you know. And I'm like, yeah, I would, because suddenly I was like, why would I be thinking of them? Like they just, and it would constantly come in throughout the day that I'm like, oh, they're back in my head again. Like, they're pregnant. So those kind of things, that was like the learning phase for me to see and understand those signs. And then as I grew and developed, then I realized, and it's a bit like, like when we pull out the angel cards, in for those who don't know, in Megan's lovely class, she always pulls out, and we love it because at the end of class, she pulls out a spirit animal for the week or two for us to look out for. And it's quite funny. You might get a bear and you're like, I live in Australia, where am I going to see a bear? But it might be on your social media feed. It might be somebody says it. It's in a book you're reading. Like they're there around you. Your guides will keep throwing it at you until you spot it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's all about that development journey and listening and trusting yourself. And really the more you show up for yourself in a realistic way and in a way that honors yourself, you know, we're all different, and we're not the originators of anything we're doing, but we're the originators of how we do it.
Yeah.
And we connect with people who feel the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And we give out that energy of people then that are on that same level as well.
Yeah. Like on days when I feel like in my business, if I'm feeling really depleted, I feel sad, I feel crap, I feel like everything's all too hard. My go-to is to go onto, say, Instagram or YouTube, and, you know, those inspirational stories you see. You know, the people like Lady Gaga, who was picked on at school and who was told she'd never be anything, and she created her community of monsters, and they're celebrated around the world. We all love and admire the path and the openness she created for so many people.
Yeah.
You know, the people like J.K. Rowling told they would never, ever be a writer, and hello, eat your words now, because, you know, they change. And I'm always reminding my children of this. I'm like, just because one person says to you, you can't, do not let that person have that power.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's girls that I follow on social media who were told at high school by art teachers they would never amount to anything. And oh my God, they are just killing it. And I will follow them on social media, and I love seeing the changes, the obstacles they overcome, because they remind me that stick in your own lane. Don't worry about what everyone else is saying. Yeah. But when you do what's right for you, you will shine. Like it will. You just know what your dream is, not everyone else. They're just going to tell you how they think you should live your dream.
Yeah, absolutely. I've talked about this before in the sense of, you know, looking at who's in your inner circle. You know, you want people in your inner circle that you can trust, who are going to support you, but also will challenge you. Like, I've got a couple of people in mind that I do get challenged at times, but they are people who I know I can share what I'm thinking, get their advice. They're either supportive or they're saying, what about this, or have you thought about this?
Yeah.
But I'm not going out to 100 people getting all of their ideas, because I'll get 100 different responses.
Yeah.
And then I'm not trusting my gut or my...
That's where, like, that self-sabotage comes in, because, you know, and people who are quick to put somebody down or tell you how you need to be doing it are often doing it because it's a reflection of them. It has nothing to do with you. Yeah. So don't take on board. If you're working with, say, a business coach and they're telling you to do stuff that doesn't feel right, don't do it.
Yeah.
You know, when I started coaching and I got my qualifications, the lady that ran the organization was like, everybody has to do workshops. Everybody has to get out on stage. And I'm like, oh my God, kryptonite, that is not me. My backstory is I got nominated for an award. I had to do a 2-minute speech about me. I'm like, 2 minutes. Oh my God, I can't do this. Like, it'd been so long since I'd done any public speaking. Can't do it. Crippled with fear. Sweat was pouring off me. And a friend said to me, hey, just remember, 2 minutes, get up on stage. You won't know anyone. 2 minutes, you'll be right. Oh my God. I walked into the venue. I know you. And I'm like, the sweat was just pouring off me. I had to get up on stage. Left my glasses in my handbag by mistake, couldn't read my notes, and I was so nervous. Like, I talk fast on a normal day, as you know. Speed talk. I had to stop myself halfway through and said to the audience, as you can see, I'm nervous. When I'm nervous, I speed talk. If you can keep up, good luck. I finished off and got off the stage. Like, I was a finalist, but I'm like, you know what? I don't need to be on the front of a stage. Yeah. That is not my thing. Yeah. I love working behind and seeing people like yourself be up the front, because that's my happy place.
Yeah.
And for me and my journey, I don't need to be a coach that says, send a stage, look at me, because that's not how I work.
Yeah.
I'm more intimate, small.
Yeah.
And I love that, because that works for me and my energy and how I show up for people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, right, is that we can learn from people, but you don't need to, like, hang on every word. If something doesn't feel right, then don't do it.
Yeah, and no matter what industry and whatever industry you're in, you don't have to do what everyone else is doing.
Exactly.
Because why would you want to be like everyone else?
Yeah.
Do what you do.
Yeah, do you. Just do you. Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, when you feel... if you're feeling the self-sabotage, or you're feeling like your colleague over there is doing, just think, with a grain of salt, because they're only going to tell you and share with you in public what they think everybody needs to see. A bit like we hear about the Instagram, the fake Instagram to the reality, the perfect pictures to what the person really looks like. You've got to take it with a grain of salt, because they're not going to share all their dirty laundry. Even the ones that say they're sharing the dirty laundry are not sharing the dirty laundry. That's just a strategy tactic.
Yeah.
So do it in a way that makes you, because when you're happy, when you're in that space that makes you flourish, you will flourish. And, when you sit there and you want to do something, you're like, oh, should I donate? What's the worst could happen? They say no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, give it a go anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I'm going to be as shocked as what you are when I say this, that we've actually only got a couple of minutes left.
Because we don't like to talk much at all.
So much wisdom and gold nuggets in our conversation, though. Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you a slightly tweaked version of my same question that I ask all of my guests before we finish. So, what is one lesson or truth that you've learned over the last 12 months that you wish you had known 12 months ago?
So for me, and with the never-ending support from you, is learning trust. So I've always talked, it's important for me when working with my clients that they have trust in me to show up for them and always have their back. However, for me in my own journey, trust is a big thing, because as I've grown in my ability to receive messages from those above, I constantly have these little arguments in my head that I need to be going off and getting some further education from someone. And my team keep saying, no, you just have to practice. You already have the knowledge. You have the natural gift of it. But it's that old school mentality that, you think you have to have the piece of paper. It's against, I've worked with this amazing lady who had I think she did every possible course in the spiritual world. And it wasn't until my husband could hear us on a Zoom call one day, and he said to me, you need to listen to your conversations. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I said, they don't know anything. They keep asking you. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And so trusting myself, and the minute I trust, it does flow. But, the same with all of us in business, we want to show up and we want to do things, but we get nervous, or then we get in our own way. Yeah. So I have to learn to really keep trusting myself and keep implementing the practices that enable me to do it. But you kindly always remind me, I've got this, just trust myself.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's beautiful. I love that. It's a beautiful way to wrap up our conversation, because we have, it's like trusting that intuition, trusting what we're getting. So it's really beautiful.
And I think for the business owner's journey, there's lots of, roller coaster, high heels, lows and all. But if you can instill practices around yourself that honor your energy, honors yourself and your space, have the, backups for the bad days, and the, high five, celebrate all wins, no matter what they are, then the journey becomes the flow, the shine, and everything emanates from there. So, yeah, definitely.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you for this beautiful conversation.
I love our chats.
I have no doubt that there'll be lots of writing and taking notes, I suspect, when people are listening to this. So thank you.
As I say, my door's always open. You're more than welcome to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of The True North Show. I hope today's conversation brought you closer to your own sense of purpose and reminded you of the power you hold within. If this resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who's also walking the path of becoming. To continue the journey, head over to megannorth.com. You'll find resources, support, and ways to work with me one-on-one. Until next time, keep trusting yourself, following your intuition, and taking one aligned step at a time. Your true north is never lost. It's just waiting for you to come home.